So, Rini, we've already spoken of multiple types of relationship, but one common thread that we see running in any sort of relationship, even if we are not talking of spousal relationships, is a type of commitment. So, your sense of investing your time and energy uh, could simply be defining that commitment. But multiple times in the types of relationships that we have discussed, the moment the person realizes that that there is something more to this equation, the question of commitment starts to haunt, even though it might not be in terms of committing to be always together, or it might come with very short timelines. But what is it about um, what is it about committing to an equation that kind of makes us so fearful and jittery at times?
Yeah, and I think, again, that is such an important discussion to have, because a lot of people, when we step into a relationship, when we begin to see that, okay, this is something that I can probably take it a bit forward, I'm vibing with this person, and something might happen between us. So that is the phase where you are kind of infatuated, and you're experiencing love and similar kind of emotions. And when we try to look at it, that okay, love, that particular emotion and feeling can be very overpowering, because if I have to really put in very straightforward and everyday lingo, we get tingly, and we have butterflies in our stomach, and we get excited because it's something new that we are seeing and experiencing. So, and we express ourselves physically, and we are around each other all the time. So that particular phase is just so much of newness and excitement that everything else kinds of gets sidelined and or subsided for that period of time. And it's only when you've spent more quality time with that person that you begin to see that, okay, well, love is there. There are also these other things that exist in our dynamic, and we learn those things about each other over time. And I think when we talk about commitment, so if you try and define it, commitment is basically, it's a decision, right? It's a decision based on some combination of feelings and logic. When, let's say, we make decisions about our future plans. So a lot of thinking, investment of time and energy goes into it. So we're usually used to doing this on our own for things that only pertain to us. And we recognize that it's possible to make both good and bad decisions. But when it comes to companionship and like thinking about commitment with another person, so it's not just about emotions and love anymore. The commitment also becomes more about being responsible to that other person, to the relationship, regardless of what the external variables of the time or your situation are. It's about the commitment to making certain decisions that will serve the relationship, even when it would feel better not to make them. But yeah, that sort of defines commitment. So doesn't matter if you're married or not, when you decide to enter into a partnership with another person, commitment means that you act with integrity, respect, and care. Even when sometimes your emotions would tell you otherwise. So I think it's important to distinguish between love and commitment here, because love is just that emotion and the feeling that kind of maybe gives you more strength to be willing to commit to that other person. Right. So it really drives your decision. But I think when you ask me that, okay, why sometimes we may get jittery or anxious about that, okay, do I really want to come into this relationship? So the kind of interactions that I've had with young adults in the last couple of years, there can be multiple reasons. And I think one of the more important ones is that either previously they have had a bad experience in another committed relationship, or they have seen very unhealthy and toxic dynamics in their own family, with their own parents' marriage or someone very close to them. So they tend to believe that, okay, the same thing is going to happen to me because I've grown up with that dynamic, so it's still somewhere there in me too. So because as we say that we carry part of our family throughout our lives, right? So I think a lot of the commitment issues may come from there. Other issues, I think, they can be more specific to the situation. For example, if you're someone who has been born and brought up in a very independent household, and since childhood you have been allowed to make your own decisions, and you haven't been, given many major responsibilities, so you tend to become more self-centered. So you're comfortable making decisions for yourself that you know will work for you and will not work for you, but you haven't really, have experienced that, okay, what it means to think from another person's perspective. And if I'm committing to a relationship or a task, what would that look like? Because primarily they have just been mostly on their own.
Yeah.
So I think there are so many factors that contribute to it, but the major one being that either having a bad past experience yourself or having witnessed it very closely. And that's why, again, it's so important for families, to sit and have more conversations about the kind of values they want to instill in the next generation. And even though they may have had a failed marriage, so that doesn't need to necessarily get passed on to the next generation. So I think more open dialogue and understanding that, okay, you're a different person than your parents. And even though you have been very close to that dynamic while growing up, it doesn't necessarily mean that you become that same person. So, and yeah, that comes with having more interactions, open conversations. Yeah.